Hey everyone, Angelo here, Hollywood filmmaker, greatest screenwriter in the history of the world, recovering hobo in my West Los Angeles apartment. I almost said West Hollywood by mistake and forgot where I lived. Doing a lot of writing, and it's December 30th, but I wanted to make a message specifically for my homeless viewers out there. As I say that, it's like, a lot of things I think and feel. I was homeless for 2.5 years. That's why I always say recovering hobo at the beginning of my video. It was formative. It was profound. It gave me the space to choose who I want to be. And I know I have homeless viewers, and it's like they're the realest ones. Everyone is. But like, there's something, it's like I automatically know so much, not just know so much about you, but like understand so much about you or feel we have so much in common. Doesn't mean we actually have like a lot of personal things in common. Just I know so much about a person when I found out they're homeless. Again, it doesn't mean we've had similar experiences even being homeless. Doesn't mean we have any of the same beliefs. But and it doesn't even mean like I never slept on pavement. I always slept in my car, occasionally couches, occasionally I got a bed to sleep on. I never slept on a roof. But there's a desperation and need and loneliness and pain and danger and violence, sickness, all that kind of stuff that so many people go through when they're homeless, and also moments of profound happiness and joy. I loved being homeless in many ways. I couldn't understand why people, like occasionally I get people telling me I need to get housed or, be good for you, like talking down to me, like, I think maybe you're being stressed out, like you need to do this, like, oh, I'm so confused. I needed someone to tell me being housed would be better for me. I'm like, that's a confession of who you are. You think it would be too stressful to be homeless. For me, it's clarifying to be homeless. There are so many times when I've wondered, do I want to go homeless again? Now, the thing is, I really don't want to live in a car. I don't want to drive a car. I ride a bike now. I love doing it. I skate my rollerblades, still learning that. And I need more time to do it. I've just been doing so much writing lately. I'm working on my own stories that I'm writing. And as part of that, I've just felt so much drive and peace doing that. But also I'm like, damn it, every time I get frustrated that I want to check the internet just for like interesting videos, documentaries or videos about urbanism, whatever, I'm like, why am I doing this to myself? Like, I'm getting distracted, I'm procrastinating. I hate it. It's terrible. It's awful. And I realize, loosen up that muscle like a hamstring that's too tight. Loosen it up, so I don't feel that urgency, that compulsion to go check my email, check my messages, see for updates on whatever that I'm interested in, and just be okay with writing. Not even worry about like, oh, I'm not going out. I want to be with people more. I have been with people a lot, but I'm like, I want to actually have my social life be something I can have more prominent in my life, as opposed to something I have to squeeze in between other things. I realize I know, boohoo, that's like always a problem if you're a parent, if you're a worker. I'm lucky that I can manage as much as I do for a social life, and I can afford it. A lot of my life, I could not afford that, or I would manage to find it for free. But, I always had this specter of desperation and homelessness and poverty over me, even as I loved what I was doing. Those moments were so formative. They're just like, seared into me. So many times I was homeless. I'm like, how unreal. It's magical to think like, oh, these are places that I was at. I even rode my bike home from Ciclavia downtown LA on Venice Boulevard all the way to West LA. And a lot of LA, the Venice Boulevard is not good for biking. And then it gets bike lanes in West LA. But I was riding through there and I'm like, holy crap. There's the Planet Fitness I showered at my first day in my first day after I slept a night in LA outside of Walmart. I don't remember where, somewhere around Santa Monica maybe, I'm not sure. I'm like, holy crap, this was where I did that. This is almost like mythical. Like that was another life, but it wasn't another life. It's exactly who I am. The first day I wrote, like I showered there, and I was looking for places to sleep. I don't remember where I slept my second night in LA, but I'm like, how lucky I am to have those memories, like awesome memories. At the same time, my feelings on that, it depends on the day and my mood. Usually, my mood's pretty good. I'm keeping myself accountable to my diet, my wake up, morning or early morning routine, exercise, being well. I'm just lucky that I can mostly be around, good people now. I say mostly. I sometimes run into somebody on the street who's a jerk. I ran into some bicyclists. I'm like, these people are bullies and like so, so like carrying such a complex and so not dealing with any problem. They're just making up problems. If you saw problems, if you had them, you wouldn't even worry about this. Like I saw this old white couple biking on Venice Boulevard, and they were just like angry at everybody. Like a car was in the apron of the driveway, and they're like waving them back. Somebody was sleeping on a mattress in the bike lane, and they rode around him, and this guy was like fucking screaming like a maniac. And he's like, "You want me to come back there?" At the homeless guy, because the homeless guy yelled at him. I was embarrassed to ride with them. Anyways, I forget what oh yeah. So sometimes I see that. It was shameful to be around them. I'm like, I would never want that homeless guy there to think I'm a part of them. But here's the thing, like you're going down in the gutter with them if you want to confront them or make, them, pay like visit karma on them and be like, you shouldn't have done that. They don't care. Like that's their thing. By the way, how embarrassing is it? I assume they're a couple. To be a couple and to have that bonds you. I would be so embarrassed. People are like, how'd you two meet? Why do what do you have in common? We hate people. Like that's what it would be so embarrassing. I'd be dropping my character to do that. But for some people, that's their normal. And I'm like, that's all kinds of things. That's chauvinism. That's white supremacy. Now, anybody can be, a bully and angry, but there was an aspect of it's charged with white supremacy whenever white people do that, because it's like you view people as intruding on your personal space or something. Like just ride around them. Like they're so unfortunate they don't have anything. Like, and you're telling them you need more from them. How pathetic. We should be calling that stuff out more. But then again, I didn't call it out in person. But like I said, what's the point? Like like how hair trigger, like how sensitive, like their skin is all rashed up, and the smallest like bit of like atmospheric change on their skin irritates. Like this homeless person was there. And I was thinking about that in regards to homelessness and in regards to I saw a great video by FD Signifier, the channel name is, I'm pretty sure I got it right, about it's called Fuck the Police, and it's a 2-hour documentary, and that was something I was procrastinating on today. I was watching that, but I'm like, this is, I was aware of a lot of this stuff. Obviously, I'm very, much skeptical of policing and believe, white supremacy is endemic and all that. But this video takes like a very like elevated view of over 100 years of policing and the different implications of it, and gets the testimonies of people who are dealing, like trying to be activists who are trying to confront it, and the prison system, and just how scary that kind of activism can be. And it was like to have that elevation, to see it, just this broad like panorama of policing. I'm like, oh, this is so much smaller. In other words, it's like so the lack of clarity when you try and look at policing up close and say, well, they're trying to stop crime, they're trying to do this cop's bad, whatever, but we can reform it, we can train people, whatever. We need to actually fund the police further to get more training. When you take this elevated perspective and see over 100 years of it, like, oh, it's that lack of clarity just goes away. And what I mean by it gets smaller, you can see much more clearly when it's small and in like within the frame of this 100 plus year, whatever, 140-year snapshot of policing and prisons and anti-black racism and capitalist exploitation that destroys white people's lives as well. That FD signifier video goes into that a lot as well. It's like, oh, this is so much more clear. Even though it wasn't like telling me anything new in a way, it there were like new facts and stuff I was seeing in there, and just hearing stories I hadn't heard before. But I'm like, all of it, it was believable. I'm like, yeah, like this kind of thing happens a lot with it, brutality in prisons, but and criminalizing of poverty, and how capitalist production requires there to be unemployment, and then you can shore up that unemployment. Well, basically, it's unemployment as a way of like keeping people, like using a cudgel to force them to work for unsavory employers and bad jobs, low wages, because the alternative is homelessness, but also forcing people essentially between homelessness and crime, and creating definitions of crime that arguably and I think shouldn't be crime, like, you know, doing drugs, selling drugs, maybe some circumstances, I don't know, but anyways, you see the video. It's incredible just to have that, like, that panorama, that view, like set it down in front of you and like flip the pages going through it. I'm like, oh, that tells a whole new narrative, where you see how myopic people who basically centrists and conservatives and liberals are about the police, and thinking it's just like an individual problem of like this cop, this police station, this police force, maybe this issue here. Like, this is not like a new thing, a new phenomenon. This is a language that isn't just spoken in short chunks of time, like this police's policy, this criticism of the police. It takes place for over a century. And if you want to, you know, you can read into multiple centuries if you're looking at how originally it was like private security, thugs that were acting to protect the capitalist slave owners and capture escaped slaves, or slaves who attempted to escape, and made public examples of, you know, horrible things to them in order to scare everyone else into not wanting to rebel or escape. Anyways, thinking about stuff like that, and I'm like, it's clarifying. It's good, scary, definitely. I'm like, oh, I got to keep peaceful in myself, keep back to writing, be a good influence on people. And anyways, I just had time, and I was like, you know, I should just do some kind of shout out or something to my homeless viewers, because I know, well, I don't know what I was going to say with that sense, but I've been doing so well with my, just how I've been not with, well, doing so well with my writing, meaning I'm doing well. Like, it gives me confidence, clarity, peace, that I just have new things to reflect on. I'm like, just shout out to the homeless viewers out there. I don't have anything specific really to say. I'm saying a lot of things, but solidarity with them. And you don't have to be like the, you know, idealized homeless person that sometimes we see, like, oh, they're so talented. They're this, they're a singer, they're a computer programmer, and they fell on hard times. It should be, and it's not a prerequisite for me to treat people with dignity only if they meet, you know, certain palatable prerequisites that I set for them. Doesn't mean necessarily like I want people to, whatever, if they've done something bad, they have to do their penance right with me. You know, I know people who've done bad stuff, and I'm like, you know, I hope they get better, but they don't need to get better around me. But anyways, point is, we're punishing ourselves when we create homelessness. It's not an accident. It's not an individual phenomenon. It's a broad political phenomenon. We create it as a policy. We don't have to have homeless people if we don't want to. We can just house people. We have vacant housing. We can do it. People are. Did y'all like that? I didn't want to. It felt weird curling my hair or putting my hair back like that. Because anyways, it looked kind of like performative or something. But I was literally just trying to get it out of in front of my ear. What the hell was I saying? Homelessness. Like, there's the big picture, and then there's a reality of people going through it, and it's like so many people. It's amazing the hatred and preconceptions and the bitterness, like I talked about with that white couple on the bikes, who it was as if their skin had been peeled and like pepper was put on it, and it was so raw, and the slightest little breeze was like extremely irritating to them and causing them so much pain. I'm like, that's what happens when you're a very small person with no problems, but you imagine yourself to be a very big person, which is that anything that intrudes on your sphere of autonomy, your sense of autonomy, is extremely disruptive to you and outrageous, and you imagine it to be so much bigger than it is. It's like having a balloon uninflated and then just putting whatever, a fingerprint on it or something, and blowing it up, and now the fingerprint is stretched out, and you're like, that's a huge fingerprint. No, it's just you filled it with gas. Good analogy. Assholes out there who are bullies and stuff. I don't want to be too hateful. We all have our weak moments, I guess you could say. And there's the other aspect of, hey, that was a weakness on those people's part that I saw, and it's not about just them. And I wish them all the best. But that lack of perspective to think like someone who has almost nothing is a problem for you, and so many people think this about homeless people. It's ingrained in so much propaganda, conservative and liberal. It's especially prominent on conservative media. Liberals do it but it's hidden behind like a smile of like some progressive trappings, like well, we want to give out 200 homeless kits, or like kits full of provisions this Christmas Eve, something to people, or we have 8 shelter beds opening up this year, how nice. While the executives who and managers who are running these homeless outfits make hundreds of thousands of dollars. So I feel like a lot of people know this stuff, like have it in perspective. Listen to the stories of homeless people. Lots of homeless people make YouTube videos. Good for them. I did. I wanted that to be a witness to what I was doing. I'm like, I'm not a coward. I'm cowardly about certain things, but I'm not going to be afraid of putting my story out there while I'm homeless. I want it to be out there. If I look foolish, good. That means I'm doing something that other people aren't doing. I want to look foolish. And I knew it was going to be a historical document to show exactly like how I evolved, where I came from, where I'm going. And it's going to come into perspective, into like a sharp relief, as I continue with my film career and just being a person, just living my life. But the thoughts never go away from me about homeless people I see in person, see online. They're homeless people you don't know are homeless. They don't look any particular way. They may drive a reasonably nice car, and you don't know if they're homeless. Maybe they need that nice car. Maybe they bought it before they went homeless, and it was a contributing factor to them going homeless. And I still can't help but just watch the videos that Mark Horvath does at Invisible People. He's a guy here in LA, runs this great nonprofit that just features the stories up close of homeless people and lets them talk about their experience. He was homeless for 7 years. He was addicted to drugs. He was exploited by, as he puts it, he was exploited by Christian organizations while he was homeless. I dreaded people coming out of church trying to give me food. I never accepted it once. It's just too weird. Like, I don't want to be preached to. I don't want you to think you're saving me from anything. And fortunately, I was in a position where I didn't need to accept food. Like, I always had food. I didn't necessarily have quality food or much. I would have to get like protein bars from the food bank because I also couldn't refrigerate anything. Couldn't really prepare much. Also, I just didn't know how a good diet from a bad, but Even then, I couldn't. There wasn't a whole lot I could do. Groceries are so freaking expensive. It's shameful. But I could go on all day about like everything, about being too expensive, being exploitative, CEOs making more, executives making more, board of directors making more, and workers' hours being cut, benefits being cut, workers being laid off. When employers know that the fear of homelessness or losing medical care or their car uh, are real if you don't have a job, who do you think becomes the employers? Maybe they're decent people, good, and it's the thing. It's not about the individuals. It allows people who want to be exploitative, physically abusive, exploitative, psychologically, um, take out their hostility on workers, uh, give them bad working conditions, unsafe conditions, pushing them to work unpaid, hours overtime, and sexual abuse, extortion. Like it's amazing how like conservatives and liberals, like I have to say, it's like I'll put them like right behind conservative. Like if conservatives up here, liberals right here. As far as like they love capitalist exploitation too, but they want it with like a rainbow veneer. Like the exploiters should include women and people of color. It's amazing how conservatives uphold entrepreneurs. Like, look, it's just God ordered society this way, that they're up higher than the rest of people. And yet, if they're so much superior to non-job creators and non-capitalists or entrepreneurs, how come so many of them abuse their positions? And why wouldn't you, if you're a conservative and you uphold entrepreneurs, why wouldn't you want to hold them so much more accountable than you do? Why would you want to pardon Amazon's exploitation, Apple's exploitation, Tesla, SpaceX, Walmart, McDonald's? So many people working there don't even have homes. They can't afford childcare. I mean, it's absurd. The overlap between homelessness and working is quite high. And the chance of going homeless while you're working is quite high. Like, what can I say? I mean, watch Mark Horvath talk to people. And that should be just an experience people have. I feel like that just should be part of our education, is learning from the stories of people who are not, I won't say not like us because I was homeless, but learning from the stories of people from all walks of life. Why not? What do we have to lose? Might like that those people on the bikes, I won't even reference them. It's just people who get so angry when they think there's people doing stuff I don't understand. I judge it and I think it's wrong. And it turns out it may be a lot more understandable than you realize, of how you have to survive being homeless, or survive in poverty, or in a violent neighborhood, or in an over-policed neighborhood, which is the same violent neighborhood. Why people believe what they do, why people don't want crappy jobs, why they don't want to work these vacant positions where they're going to be abused by managers, by customers. Like, why? Don't you want to know? Like, you don't want to know. Okay, a lot of people just don't want to know what the world is like, what the world looks like outside of their own sheltered experience. And to be fair, I was like that too. Not because strictly like I didn't want to know, I just didn't know. Like, I was raised conservative in an insular suburban bubble. I always, fortunately, the thing I had going for me was I always knew I had to respect the person in front of me. And so it kind of like would make me reticent about like wanting to just assert my views are always right, even though I kind of did when I was conservative. But in the sense that like I felt I had no choice but to respect the person in front of me. And that alone was just gradually informing so much of my change out of conservatism into whatever. I don't even like having a label because I don't believe any system is going to make our lives perfect. And I don't say it has to be one thing. Like, my views about things can be somewhat nuanced and ambiguous, but I try and like check in with myself and say, Am I upholding people's dignity? Am I just reacting to something I don't understand in anger, or is there more to understand here, even if it seems whatever? And I'm not saying like that means be permissive of everything. Absolutely not. Like, I believe people commit heinous things. I'm thinking now about stuff, people have done to me. Uh, like I said, there are things we should not tolerate. But what does that look like? And who do we put in charge of not tolerating it? Do we want to be even worse than the things we're trying to stop? Or engage in even worse behavior than the things we're trying to stop? And again, I'm thinking about some ugly, nasty, stuff I've went through. So I don't even want to get negative, It's not that I don't think there aren't abusers, violent people, or even people who just, maybe you wouldn't call them violent, but in a moment of weakness or whatever, or anger, lash out or become abusive, whatever the case, whatever. I'm not running down every instance of that kind of behavior. Although we know, like, so many people who are caught up in the legal system, it's not for stuff like that. It's for just petty stuff, drug use, minor infractions, driving violations. Anyways, I'm getting into a whole lot of stuff. I don't like spinning out on this stuff, but I'll show what I'm thinking and watch the clock tick by on my phone while I talk. Homeless viewers out there, okay, watch Mark Horvath, Invisible People. Watch FD Signifier. And, do stuff like enjoy your life if you can. If you can, ride a bike. Do things to be more active in your life as opposed to passive, which I view driving to be. You may enjoy driving. You have to drive. I'm not saying don't drive. I'm saying for those of you, but I'm saying think about what your relationship with it is. I realize you may have to. Like, you may live in an area where there's no viable alternative to that. I'm not saying therefore you shouldn't. I'm saying it's incumbent on all of us to change the environment we live in and make it so we live in more people-friendly spaces. And to that end, I just want to say, the homeless viewers out there, man, you're the realest. And you're going through so much. I almost never stop thinking about it. What it's like to be homeless. I have different reflections, different times on my experience being homeless. And I'm glad for it. It was formative. I was miserable before I was homeless. And I went through a lot of miserable times being homeless and even afterwards. But it helped me. It gave me a chance to choose who I wanted to be. And my comfort was getting in the way of my character. I was just getting too complacent. It wasn't even anything scandalous, like nothing bad. I realized I was too comfortable. I was too complacent. And I wasn't progressing. I was stagnating in a way. And, but something in me was telling me, like, I don't like this. I don't like what I'm doing. I don't like how comfortable everything is. I need to get rid of my comfort. Now, the other flip side of that was I had to. Like, I was broke. And it's dangerous. Like, you don't have to go homeless to find who you are. I would like it if people could just safely camp, or if they want to live in their cars, and it could be safer. I went through dangerous stuff. I woke up in the middle of a police chase. I woke up when the waking up was the minor part. Someone crashing into my car while I was sleeping in it, and people have died that way. People threatening me. Guy asking to get into my car. He wasn't like actively trying to break in, but he was obviously like, whatever this is super weird. People just out of their minds, or doing kind of like unsavory partying around where I was sleeping in my car that just made me uncomfortable. I'm like, doesn't mean they're bad people. Just like, why do you want to party in this parking lot at 1 a.m. right now? Like, again, nothing inherently bad. It's just, it's incumbent on all of us to have better things, to provide better things to do. If people want to do that, fine. Like, again, it was just like, I always felt self-conscious about it, but they may not have thought anything of it. So I'm just saying, when you're out in that environment, you're sealed in this little capsule in a car where you can be trapped in there easily. But to the homeless people out there, keep going, keep trying. I hope things get better. And there are a lot of good people who care and who are trying to change things. So there's housing, but I don't even want to get into any specific right now. It's like what program or whatever I want. Just talking to people out there. I know they watch. I know they watched in the past. I've interacted with them. At least one person who I was talking to who was homeless got housed. I was grateful for that. And, let's think about who we think homeless people are and just how, like Mark Horvath puts it, invisible they seem. Like this other thing that we don't, know. And how embarrassing it is to confess your character and say, oh, I don't know them, but I don't like them. Like, who's they? Who can you name any of them? That's funny. Like, name them, what they do. You may know some. You may be able to name some. Like, oh, okay, so you can't tell the difference between one homeless person and the next. And that's also why I'm grateful to have been homeless. I'm like, it's not hypothetical when you're talking to me about who homeless people are. I'm exactly what a homeless person looks like. Like, I'm exactly who a homeless person is. Every person who's homeless is what a homeless person is. We all have different stories, but we all are what a homeless person is. And that's why I choose that label for myself, because it's an identity for me in a way. Homeless can, it can not veer into, it very much is and can be like just a negative label. That you can call people experiencing houselessness or the unhoused. It depends. Just think your preference. But for me, I like the label for myself of being homeless. I'm like, yeah, I absolutely am that thing you don't like, you may not like. And it's amazing the cognitive dissonance I've witnessed in people who badmouth homeless people and talk trash about them. Happened recently. This guy just starts ranting at me about, we were talking about something totally different. I just met him at a shop, and he starts telling me about homeless people in Venice are killing each other. He's like, they're crazy. I'm like, well, I was living on the street for a while, and that kind of behavior is equal opportunity. As far as if you want to talk crazy or whatever, like I've lived with people where I'd say, yeah, it's equal opportunity inside and outside the home as far as bad behavior, if you just want to call it that. Why the urgency to, there's no problem, but you're being fed this propaganda that says homeless people are the problem. So it's like, we aren't doing it. It's like you're wound up tight and saying, like, I have to release this tension. You, Angelo, let me tell you about what homeless people are doing. You don't know. I'm like, I know exactly what the fuck homeless people are doing, in that they have the spectrum of human experiences that everybody else does. And yet we don't talk about the housed problem, the housed menace. Housed people are committing violence and abuse and murder and doing drugs. Housed people, look at these housed people. Anyways, so I'm going on a lot, but I'm doing really well. I'm trying to ease up those muscles in me, to relax, to give me space, to be peaceful, to write. Because also, right now what I'm going through is, I'm like, yeah, I want to go out. I want to meet people. I want to be around filmmakers and stuff. Like, I miss being on film sets. And I want to keep reintegrating into my sort of normal life, which I'm still sort of, in a way, coming out of, having been homeless for 2.5 years, though I've been housed for over 2.5 years now. But on top of going through other stuff, it's like trying to reintegrate into my, normal life, coming out of this chaos. But I'm like, those times will come. If I'm a writer, if I say I'm a writer, I got to do what I say, and I have to write. And those times will come, but I have to invest in the writing, because I know what it looks like to not want to do that. To say, well, I have money, I'm in LA, I have time to go out. Yeah, it's like you're going to develop other parts of your life to the detriment of your writing. And I believe you need those other parts of your life. Believe me, those give inspiration and help clarify ideas for stories. I'm not saying I don't go out at all or anything, but I know now it's just kind of a chance for, it's like, to retreat a little bit and write and just feel totally confident about it. and to be grateful for when I'm out and see people. And I'm like, oh, good. Like, I don't get upset as much. I always can be kind of upset, kind of, uh, you know, not lonely, not much lately at all, but it's easy for me to think of stuff like, what a loser I am. I was sick for so long with depersonalization, derealization, like 18 years. It kept shattering my identity, making me disabled for like a year at a time, few years, doing sort of all right, but lost, get sick again, shattered my identity, be disabled for like a year or so, try and put myself back together, constantly being broke, constantly being alone. Like, what the hell happened? You know? Especially when I'm falling asleep at night, those lonely thoughts can hit me. But now I'm like, oh, this is what building a better life looks like, is writing. So I want to be doing it. And ease the tension on judging myself for, you know, or like, yeah, judging myself when I don't do the writing, don't write, like making this video. I don't want to be like, oh, no, I got to write all day, knowing that the time will be there to write as well. I'm fortunate enough to have that, where I'm not working 2 jobs or living in some abusive situation or chaos. Wasn't always the case, but I'm going to do that, continue doing that today. By the way, I'm rereading. Check this out. Awesome book. Michael Mann, Meg Gardner, Heat 2. Michael Mann's new film, Ferrari, is coming out. By the way, Michael Mann's going to be at the Aero Theater in Santa Monica in a week. I kind of want to go to that, but I'm like, yeah, that'd be cool. Michael Mann's going to be there doing a Q&A, and they're going to play Ali. I'm like, I could go there. Hypothetically, it wouldn't be any issue. But I'm like, well, if I'm saying I got to write, I got to write. That's what writing looks like, is not missing out, but like writing and sort of, sacrificing. I don't even like putting it like sacrificing, but it is like doing without going out as much to get my writing done. And the time for that stuff will come too. I'm rereading this because I want to like better understand how this story is so well designed to sort of retrofit everything from the film into this prequel period of the story and the sequel part when Krisha Hurlis gets out of LA and what he does with his life afterwards, and how it all perfectly integrates. Like, it's almost like I picture it like the film is like an air conditioner. Just go with me, with the spinning blades and all, and you retrofit this prequel part of the story where the heists are like unbearably tense and compelling, and there's the serial killer too, who's kind of like an amped up level of the Waingro from the film, who was a serial killer, and but wasn't that well fleshed out to me, I thought, even though he was fearsome. And then the sequel part, and everything fits together like it was one jet engine. It was built as a jet engine in the first place. You wouldn't know anything was like added afterwards. I'm like, if you can do that for the film Heat, which I wouldn't think ever, like how could you have a prequel, a sequel, what would it matter? I'm like, oh, I get it, how you do it. I'm like, you can create a story of anything and make it make sense. So it kind of gives me this confidence, like with the story I'm writing now. I'm like, I know there are parts of the story, I start here, I want to go to somewhere around here. I may adjust it to make it grander or more impactful or whatever, and make the starting point a little more aligned. And like while I'm aligning the ideas in the story and the events and the characters, who they are, to make it seem like one machine, I'm like, you can do that with any story. So I already try and go in confident, like I know this can be done. Because that's a big struggle for writers, is trying to figure out how to make your story like mechanically sound. So I'm going to go. By the way, get your COVID boosters. Not many people are getting them. It was $190 without insurance, so that sucks, especially for a lot of people who cannot afford that. And yeah, that's the world we live in, but it doesn't have to be. So one thing we can do, talk to each other. Like, just know what each other's pain is. Witness to it. And I get it, it's hard for everyone to connect with strangers, and we don't have many spaces or places to do it, because if you're out, I used to be afraid of going out because it's like you got to spend money anywhere to be out, and I was so broke. Then I was always out when I was homeless. But and depends on my mood and stuff, and other people's moods, if they're focused, or don't want to necessarily talk to people, or how just day to day you could have a different feel about that. But understand each other's pain and what this capitalist system puts us in, where even if you're doing relatively well like me, it's a system that's grinding people up, and I'm not important to this system. And it's incumbent upon us to just be well and to want to make space within the system to develop something new and something better, where people are treated with dignity. We have livable neighborhoods. The homeless don't need to be homeless. I'll just keep it there. How many issues I could name. But the homeless people out there watching, just my respect. Again, I can think back to what I experienced with it, and people still have to go through that. It's so real. And it's so profound, and there's something meaningful in that, but nobody should have to be homeless. I wanted to be in a way, but anyways, you can listen to their stories. You can look up my old videos of being homeless, when I was homeless. But look at people's stories about it. Invisible People is not the only one out there. There are other videos, like just homeless people make themselves. And thank goodness for that. But let's, have a country, a world where that's not even the case, where people are housed and have dignity. We have quality food, and not so much loneliness, where people can be connected, and where profit is not, how do I say it? Where profit is not reaped at the expense of our quality of life. So, to the homeless people out there, you're the realist. I know I said that a few times, but I don't even know what to say. I don't even like saying I don't know what to say. There's nothing I can say. People are dying as we speak, homeless. People are getting health issues that could be reversible or could have been prevented if they were housed and got proper food and medical care. And, I don't know. Keep watching, like the videos. What do I say? But, let me know. If you're out there, if you want to comment, maybe someone will think they should make videos about their experience in poverty or being homeless. Why not? Elevate your voices. Speak up. I realize why it can be kind of tricky for people. It's like, do you want people to find out about you saying this stuff? But if enough of us do it, that certainly goes a ways to make a difference. So I'm going to get back to writing. Thanks for watching, everybody. Like, subscribe. Have a good, happy New Year. The happy is not part of the name of New Year. It's just have a good New Year. Have a good New Year. I'm going to be asleep early. I don't stay up late, do anything like that. And read some more books, people. Read He Too. That's a good one. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Bye.